Welcome to Epic Ancient Mysteries, the channel where ancient mysteries come alive. Today, we're diving into 5 unsolved ancient mysteries that still pose big questions for historians. Get ready to explore the secrets the past still refuses to give up. The disappearance of the Indus Valley Civilization. Around 4,500 years ago, the Indus Valley Civilization thrived along what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. With cities like Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, they built sprawling urban centers with advanced drainage systems, grid-like street layouts, standardized weights and measures, and no signs of a ruling elite. They were ahead of their time, peaceful, organized, and prosperous. And then they vanished. Unlike other ancient collapses marked by war or natural disasters, the disappearance of the Indus people is a mystery without destruction. The cities weren't burned. The temples weren't toppled. The homes were abandoned quietly, as if the people simply walked away. One theory points to climate change. Around 1900 BC, the once mighty Sarasvati River is believed to have dried up, while monsoon patterns shifted dramatically. A civilization so reliant on seasonal flooding and fertile land may have found itself unable to farm or sustain large urban populations. But climate alone doesn't explain the total silence that followed. There are no signs of mass migration, no written accounts in neighboring cultures, and no continuation of their architectural or linguistic traditions. Their script, etched on seals, tablets, and pottery, remains undeciphered. Without a Rosetta Stone, we still don't know what they called themselves or what stories they left behind. Some researchers suggest a slow decline rather than a sudden collapse. Trade routes may have shifted. Economic instability could have spread. The lack of centralized power might have made them less resilient to environmental change. But all of these are educated guesses. The truth remains elusive. Even more puzzling, the people of the Indus Valley were remarkably peaceful. No large-scale weapons have been found. No evidence of armies or conquest. Could a society that avoided violence simply fade away because it couldn't, or wouldn't, fight to survive? To this day, excavations continue. New sites are uncovered. Soil samples, DNA analysis, and satellite imagery offer glimpses into their world. But the big question, why they left and where they went, remains unanswered. The Indus Valley Civilization built one of humanity's earliest and most sophisticated urban cultures. And yet, it disappeared so completely that even its name comes from the river, not from the people themselves. Until we decode their language, or uncover a forgotten archive of their final days, the story of the Indus people will remain one of the great unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. The Lost Tomb of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great conquered half the known world by the time he was 32. His empire stretched from Greece to Egypt and deep into Asia. He founded cities, toppled kingdoms, and rewrote the map of the ancient world. And yet, for all his legendary achievements, one detail remains disturbingly absent from history. No one knows where he's buried. When Alexander died in 323 BC in Babylon, possibly from fever, poison, or exhaustion, his body became a symbol of power. His generals fought not only for his empire but also for his remains. Whoever controlled the corpse of Alexander could claim legitimacy over his vast domain. Historical records say his body was placed in a golden sarcophagus and transported with the intent of being buried in Macedonia, his homeland. But somewhere along the journey, it was hijacked. Ptolemy, one of his generals and the future ruler of Egypt, intercepted the funeral procession and brought Alexander's body to Memphis, and later to Alexandria, the city Alexander himself had founded. For centuries it was said that his tomb was a grand site visited by Roman emperors, including Julius Caesar and Augustus. Then, at some point, it vanished. Earthquakes, political turmoil, and the rise of new religions transformed Alexandria over the centuries. Records of the tomb faded, and its exact location was lost. Some believe it lies buried beneath the modern city, perhaps beneath a mosque, a library, or even the sea. Others question whether the tomb was destroyed or moved in secret. During the rise of Christianity, pagan relics were often dismantled or hidden. Could the body of Alexander still rest somewhere, protected from looters and history itself? Over 140 official and unofficial search efforts have tried to locate the tomb. Archaeologists, historians, and even conspiracy theorists have proposed dozens of potential sites, from the catacombs of Alexandria to remote areas of the Sahara. And yet, nothing conclusive has ever been found. For a man who once ruled the largest empire on earth, whose image was stamped onto coins and immortalized in myth. His final resting place remains a blank page in history. Until it is found, the lost tomb of Alexander the Great stands as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world, a missing piece of a story that changed the course of civilization. The purpose of the Nazca lines. Stretching across the arid plains of southern Peru are hundreds of vast shapes etched into the earth: lines, spirals, trapezoids, and massive figures of animals like hummingbirds, monkeys, and spiders. Some are simple and geometric. Others stretch for hundreds of meters with astonishing precision. From the ground, they're barely noticeable. But from the sky, they form giant illustrations, clear, intentional, and full of purpose. These are the Nazca lines, created by the Nazca culture over 1,500 years ago. But why? Despite decades of study, archaeologists still don't know the true reason these geoglyphs were made. Theories have ranged from the practical to the mystical, and none have been proven. One idea is that they served a religious purpose, giant offerings to the gods, meant to be seen from the heavens. Some researchers believe the lines reflect constellations or celestial movements, functioning as a massive astronomical calendar. Others think they may have been used in rituals to call for rain in one of the driest regions on Earth. Then there are the more speculative ideas. That the lines were ancient landing strips. Messages for alien visitors. Evidence of a lost advanced civilization. The figure's enormous size and the fact they can only be fully seen from above has fueled this kind of thinking for decades. But perhaps the greatest mystery isn't what the lines depict, but how they were created with such accuracy. Using simple tools and no aerial view, the Nazca people removed the reddish topsoil to expose the lighter layer underneath, forming bright, clear lines. Some shapes are so large they could only have been mapped out using sophisticated planning, and yet, no written records or blueprints have ever been found. Even more puzzling, the lines were preserved not by construction techniques, but by the environment itself. The Nazca Desert is one of the driest places on Earth, with virtually no wind. That silence and stillness has kept these ancient designs intact for centuries. So far, researchers have identified over 300 geoglyphs. New ones are still being discovered using satellite imagery and drone surveys. But the question that haunts every discovery remains the same. What were they trying to say? Until we understand the worldview of the people who carved these immense figures into the desert, the Nazca lines will remain a silent message, written across miles of earth, waiting for someone to finally read it. The Great Sphinx's true age and origins. It stands alone on the Giza Plateau, an enormous limestone statue with the body of a lion and the face of a man. The Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the most iconic monuments of the ancient world. And yet, for all its fame, we still don't know exactly who built it, why, or even when. Mainstream Egyptology attributes the Sphinx to Pharaoh Khafre, around 2500 BC. This theory is based on its proximity to his pyramid and other architectural alignments. But there's a problem. There's no inscription anywhere on the Sphinx itself connecting it to Khafre. No name. No date. Just stone and silence. Over the years, scholars and independent researchers have proposed alternative timelines. Some suggest the Sphinx could be thousands of years older than commonly believed, built long before the pharaohs of the Old Kingdom. The most controversial evidence? Erosion patterns. Geologist Robert Schoch and others have argued that the weathering on the Sphinx's body was caused not by wind and sand, but by heavy rainfall. This kind of erosion would suggest the Sphinx was exposed to climate conditions that haven't existed in Egypt for over 7,000 years, long before the rise of dynastic Egypt. If true, this would rewrite ancient history. Then there's the face. Some argue that the proportions of the head don't match the body, that it was recarved at a later date, possibly altering an even older monument. Who was the original figure? What purpose did it serve? Some believe the Sphinx is part of a much older complex, tied to astronomical alignments. On the vernal equinox, it faces directly east toward the rising sun. Coincidence? Or design? More speculative theories connect the Sphinx to lost civilizations, hidden chambers, even forgotten knowledge buried beneath its paws. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed anomalies beneath the monument, but access to excavate has been limited. So what is the Sphinx? A guardian of royal tombs? A symbol of solar worship? Or a monument from a civilization lost to time? Thousands of tourists pass by its gaze every day. But behind that weathered face lies one of the greatest unanswered questions in archaeology. And until we know for certain who carved it, and why the Sphinx will continue to watch over the sands of Giza, keeping its secrets buried just beneath the surface. The disappearance of the Ninth Roman Legion. At the height of the Roman Empire, the Ninth Legion was one of its most powerful military units, battle-hardened, respected, and feared. Stationed in Britain during the early 2nd century CE, they had helped crush rebellions and secure Roman control in the north. And then, they vanished. No one knows exactly what happened to them. No final battle recorded. No remains recovered. Just silence. The last clear record of the Ninth places them in York, Eboracum, around 108 CE. After that, the paper trail stops. Later documents make no mention of the legion returning to Rome, or being reassigned elsewhere. It's as if an entire Roman army disappeared into thin air. One leading theory suggests the Ninth marched north to deal with another uprising from the Picts, tribes that inhabited what is now Scotland. These were fierce warriors who knew the land well. Some historians believe the legion was ambushed and completely wiped out, so thoroughly that Rome covered it up to avoid embarrassment. Others think the Ninth wasn't destroyed at all, but rather transferred quietly to another part of the empire, such as the Middle East, and was eventually dissolved or absorbed into other units. But if that's true, why is there no official record of such a move? The mystery has endured for centuries and inspired fiction, folklore, and film. Roman military records were usually meticulous. The Ninth's disappearance is one of the few historical gaps that defy explanation. Archaeologists have searched for evidence, battle sites, camps, graves, but have found nothing conclusive. No mass graves. No broken armor. No abandoned fort. So what really happened? Were they annihilated in a forgotten battle on the edges of the empire? Quietly retired and rewritten from the records? Or did they simply vanish into the mists of time, lost to poor documentation and shifting borders? Whatever the truth, the fate of the Ninth remains one of Rome's most haunting secrets. A ghost army, once real, now missing. And unless the earth itself gives up its answers, the disappearance of the Ninth Roman Legion will remain one of the great unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. The ancient world left us wonders, but also questions. And some of those questions may never be answered. If you enjoy chasing the mysteries time forgot, subscribe to Epic Ancient Mysteries and join us on the next journey into the unknown.